Welcome, everyone, to the Commentary Podcast. I am your host, Pat Brennan. Today on the podcast, we are going to be continuing our classic cinema series with 12 Angry Men. It was released in 1957. It is written by Reginald Rose and directed by Sidney Lumet. The film stars Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Martin Balsam, Jack Klugman, E.J. Marshall, and Jack Warden. The jury in a New York City murder trial is frustrated by a single member whose skeptical caution forces them to more carefully consider the evidence before jumping to a hasty verdict. Now, I'm going to be watching the Blu-ray copy I have of 12 Angry Men, but it is currently available to stream on Prime Video. You can also rent it on Apple, Amazon, and Fandango at home for $4. I say we get things kicked off. I am going to be pressing play on 12 Angry Men, and I hope you do as well. In 3, 2, and 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in the Classic Cinema series. It's me, once again, taking you on this journey of classic cinema with an incredible film from Sidney Lumet, his first feature film. I think the first time I saw this was gotta be high school. And at that time, I feel like when I watched films in school, especially the people around me, they didn't really care at all. But man, I was locked in. So locked in. What I love about this opening too is how it starts from the outside and it shows like the hall, like the giant courthouse, and pans down to the door, and then we move inside. We see the scale of the courthouse, and we're just slowly pushing in. Other things are going on. Guys going to the bathroom. This family's celebrating, and then we enter the courtroom, and then that sound just cuts, and then we see the 12 men. Kind of like saying like the highest power in court, or the highest court in the land, is decided in one room by 12 people. And I think that what's great too is obviously Henry Fonda was a big star, and I feel like it was a movie today. When we see the 12 men there, it would immediately cut to Henry Fonda, like, this is the star. This is the star of the film. And he is obviously a big star, but what Lumet does is he leaves Fonda in the crowd, as in Fonda's just one of the 12 men. And I think at this time too, only men were allowed to be on juries. And I love this shot when it's the last thing they look at is the defendant, in which they're going to decide his fate as we slowly fade into the room. Slowly fade into the room where his fate will be decided. And then we get the title card. It's just interesting to go from such wide shots down to such a small room where these 12 men will decide if this defendant will be charged for murder and possibly put to death. We got some All the President's Men cast here. I love it. I always point it out when I watch this, when I show people this. I was telling Tony when we were watching this a few days ago that that there's some 12 Angry Men cast in here. Keep your eye out. Martin Balsam and Jack Warden. They sit at opposite ends of the table. Marty Balsam is the foreman. I'll point him out when we see him. I think you could make the argument too that this is the greatest debut for a filmmaker in cinema. I mean, I think that off the top of my head, I don't know what would be better. I'm sure there's probably people that would say, what are you talking about? Oh, this blah, blah, blah. I mean, I guess you could say like a Maltese Falcon, the last episode, a debut there for Houston, but just the pacing in this film, it's only 90 minutes long, is absolutely incredible. And this whole opening sequence here, I'm pretty sure is all one take. When we had the camera up by the fan and we came down. And what Lumet does incredible here is how he's moving the camera within the scene and then the blocking of everyone. And just by looking at everybody, hearing the way they talk, you immediately get this sense of who these people are within the first 2 minutes. Everyone is doing in this scene. And what I love about it too is the main person that we're about to see coming up here that is going to be the not guilty, which starts them all having the conversation of the case, is Fonda, and Fonda is standing in the very back of the set right now, just looking out the window. Again, Fonda, huge star, hasn't said a word yet. He's just been in the background. Again, still one take, still moving around. And what I love that Lumet established early on was them trying to open the windows and get some air in here. They're all sweating. The pressure and the heat of what is about to come for all of them and the fate that they're about to decide. This actor always looks like he could be like Cary Grant's brother to me. But everyone's just so well written and defined and different. It's just incredible how each character is so distinctly different from each other. Again, Fonda hasn't really said anything. He kind of acknowledged that guy there, but the audience didn't even see him speak. And then he just turned around. He's still listening. Still all one take. And I think what's the difference between him and them is he's thinking about the fate that they're about to give this defendant, while all these other jurymen are reading the paper, smoking cigarette, talking about the weather, talking about being like, oh, what's going on out there? This is gonna be easy. Garris. They all seem so nonchalant about what they just did. I love that Martin Balsam is always writing in this, and all the President's Men, he's always writing on a notepad too. So you have him talking about the Yankees here. Again, nothing serious is happening for them. Seems like it's just a let's just do it. Let's In their minds it's a let's get this over with, and it shows just how casual they are about the case. I wonder how long. I didn't really, when I was rewatching it, like time how long this one take is, but it's got to be about 7 minutes. Yeah, and then the blocking is insane, and then we cut to the gentleman at the window. Who the one? That's when the cut happens. That's when we're officially starting. Is that the one person that's going to change all of their minds on the case and make them think, is when we have that cut. This character is going to be important. Yeah, even that comment about like a Yankee fan, and he's like, "No, I'm Baltimore," and he's like, "Baltimore." And that's getting that hit in the head with a crowbar. Like he's judging him for living in another city. It just shows the difference in like in their class status and their quality. Like they all live different lives, and I love this blocking here where they're all leaned over perfectly to be all within the frame. Again, it kind of looks like the table is like narrowed to get that, but they're all sitting perfectly in their chair. One's out, one's in, and it's that attention to detail of the blocking that the foreman, Marty Bolsom, is speaking to all of them at one time. It's not an individual shot, they're all listening. And here we go. 11 guilty, Henry Fonda not guilty. Yep. And there's always one. He's basically saying like, there's always one. Let's get at like, you're really gonna do this, really, man? Like, and I love, oh, I love that line. What Fonda says, "Do you really think he's innocent?" And Fonda responds, just a long pause on a close up. Just, I don't know. And I think that's what's important. It's not we make that decision so fast. It's why don't we talk about this? Even if he is guilty, why don't we talk about this? We are deciding someone's fate here. So like him voting for not guilty allows them to sit and talk about it. But what's happening in the scene is the other 11 men don't want to talk about it. They want to go home. They just want to get out of here, convict this guy. We got better things to do than this guy over here. But again, you're talking about someone's life. I mean, again, suppose you're wrong. Like, suppose we are wrong. Maybe he is innocent, and we convict him, and he's put to death, and it turns out that he was innocent. And that has happened many times in the U.S. court system. And I think this film and again, All the President's Men are two of the most important American films ever made. This film, while yes, it is very male driven. I will acknowledge that this is obviously very male driven. It was released in 1957. It's very male heavy, and obviously the title, 12 Angry Men. But the way I see this film is, this is what America represents, is this interaction in this film between all of these people from different walks of life. Like this is what America should be. Is they are so quick to judge and find people and judge them immediately, saying like, you can't believe, like, this guy saying they he's has his own prejudices of this group of people when they are his fellow man. And that's what America was founded on, your fellow man. And we all should be in this together as a nation of different races, of different classes, of different values. And that's what the people in this room have. And that's why they're so distinct. Again, the guy who looks like Cary Grant, like drawing a cereal box. Like, he looks like he's on Madison Avenue. He's a madman. And then, like, this is probably some of the greatest close-ups you'll ever see in how they light each actor and how perfectly framed they are. And that camera movement there when Marty Bolson was saying, "Let's start with you. Let's just go around." The camera moved down and in and on the same eye length of that jury member to be like, the audience is now going to be listening. If you hear me taking long breaks of silence, it's either me drinking or trying to catch my breath. It's okay. And what I love about what Lumet does is he allows each character to be in the frame when they're speaking, because they feel what they're saying is correct. Like, when he said, let me give you the facts here. And then this is where we get the exposition of what happened in the case. And when I went to film school, I was always told that to never write exposition. And I always thought that was kind of like, I mean, never, like, sometimes you need it. And then you watch movies like 12 Angry Men. Like, this is the perfect example of how exposition works, because we as the audience members now are now about to hear the whole case after over 15 minutes. We haven't heard anything. And then we hear the case. So we're about to hear the case for the first time. They already have all the information. So now we, as the audience members, can feel how Henry Fonda is feeling in this moment. Again, when it cuts to a lot to Lumet first is signaling out Fonda, because again, he's the one that's saying not guilty, and then Fonda just called out his racism and his prejudice there. Like, why do you agree? Why do you agree with the woman? Isn't she one of what you just said? Them? I thought they were all liars, like you just said. And I like that right there when that one jury member said, like, can I pass? Like, as in, he's starting to think, hmm, like, he's starting to think too about Maybe we should think about this more. And I think too, I'm like talking about how great Fonda and Lumet are. I think they had a lot of tension on set. They butted heads a lot on how things should look and how things should be filmed. Um, I wasn't sure if they originally wanted to. I think I wanted it to be black and white. Um, I don't know if it was originally supposed to be color, but I think the black and white is what makes this film so important because the black and white it dissolves the color. It shows that there is no color in the room. We're all the same humans. And I think if you add color, it kind of distracts. It kind of distracts from what Lumet is trying to say and Fonda is trying to say because I think this is Fonda's first producing credit or second producing credit. And I love when Jack Warden's character when they ask him, he's like leaned back. He's not even near the table. He doesn't even care. He's like, well, everyone already said, I don't care. Like he's just the guy that kind of just goes along in the room. He doesn't care. He just is gonna agree with everybody in the room just to get out of there. He's got the Yankee game to get to. And I think what, especially directors like Fincher, kind of learns from these movies is how when these characters are getting up and down, Lumet is moving that camera with them. We're getting up with him, moving over, and we're sitting back down. It's a way for the audience to connect and feel like we are also part of the scene as opposed to us just observing. Now we feel like we're in the scene. And we have this background of him talking about his son and there's tension between him and kids and the person that on trial is a kid, so he's bringing his own biases from his own personal life into the room. And what Lumet does is he leaves the camera while they're still talking on that jury member as we pull back, as this isn't about, for him, this to remember, isn't about the kid on trial. This is about my own son and how I feel about my own son. And then here's the prejudice and racism of them talking about class system, people that aren't white, and he's taking it personally because he is that kid on on the stand. He was that kid growing up. So as the film goes along, he's realizing that the people in this room, if I was on that stand, would say the same thing because they say, look where they grow up. Look how they live their lives, being incredibly racist and biased of their own judgment. I always wonder as like, I mean, everyone in this film just gives incredible performances. How it feels to just play like an absolute outright terrible fucking person. like like it's got to be like you read it on the page and you're like, man, this is I'm a terrible my character is terrible, but I got to play into it and it fucking works. It fucking works. And I think when we were watching it a couple days ago, Tony and I, we noticed that in the close-ups, you can see. I mean, obviously the room is really hot and it's meant to be really hot, but Fonda has an opposing opinion on that entire room. He's the one that's going to be sweating the most because it's not like he's in the hot seat. They're judging him now for having that non-guilty verdict. Like, we're all going to be against you now, man. Like, what are you doing? And Fonda's going to feel that sweat. It's puts pressure on him to convince them to just talk. And I think like that close up there is, for me, that's the moment when Fonda's starting to get more confident in talking to everyone in the room. And he's telling that room that people can be wrong and people don't know everything. And then the one jury member saying this is an exact science, and Fonda is saying exactly it isn't an exact science. Everyone makes mistakes, and we could be making a mistake right now. Yeah, I think the tension between Lumet and Fonda was during like pre-production and as they were starting. I think it was first day of shooting, um, first or second day. I think they had a 17-day shoot. Um, I think when Fonda then and Lumet went to look at the dailies from the first day just to see how it looked, because I think Fonda had some tension with how the background was set up, the backdrop of the city, and it didn't look that good on the set. But when they saw the dailies from the first day, and it may have been that one long take that they did, um, I think Fonda just went up to the Met and just put his hand around his neck and just squeezed and said, "Sydney, it looks fucking magnificent." And then just left. And he never came to a daily screening again. That was the moment where he fully did trust Lumet. Because, I mean, Lumet, first time director, Fonda, big star. Fonda, as the producer for a first time director, is going to have his judgment on being a first time director and try to tell him what to do. And I think watching this film, and Lumet had it immediately from the get go on this guy was born to make films, and he's one of the greatest filmmakers to ever live. And I think actually his first TV, I think he did a teleplay of this. I think he may have directed it before this. I could be wrong. But it's magnificent how much blocking is in this, how much camera movements are in this. Because you could have had this as literally just the camera sitting still the entire time and just listening. But there's so much camera movement in this because that's what you need to have as a director, showing the audience member that we are also a part of this case. Oof, that lighting there. And this is my favorite part. The lighting on Fonda stands up and then hits the same knife down. Because it is possible that it could be something different. And I love this. It's against the law to buy ourselves switchblades. And then it cuts to a close up That's right. I broke the law. I broke the law and I'm on the jury. You don't see me being convicted for this. Yeah, it's possible. You can buy the same knife. It is possible that someone else could have bought that. Say, I bought that knife at the same place. How do I know there's not 10 there that someone bought exactly that same knife? Fonda's a better damn fucking a lawyer than the, again, like what he was saying earlier. I would have hired better fucking lawyers, man. I just walked down where the kid lived, went to the pawn shop, and it was sitting right fucking there. The lawyer should have been presenting that to the jury. I love that. I love that we're going to be here all night, and then you have one of the jury members off screen say, "It's just one night. A boy may die." Like, that's what we're deciding here. But it's, and I like how it's said off screen, as in, like, it's the audience saying that. It's like, guys, you're deciding the fate of this kid. You can sit here for a few hours to really discuss it. A life is on the line here. And he uses the music at very important moments. This moment when it kicks in right here on Fonda is it's his last ditch effort, but it's an honest conversation. Like, hey, I'm not gonna vote, but if one of you votes not guilty, we'll stay here and talk it out. But if you all vote guilty, then I'll go with you. I'll vote guilty. But it's an honest conversation, and that honest conversation, what happens? They're all like, "Oh yeah, let's do it, yeah." But all you need is one vote, and you have the tension. Fonda's not even. He's not even gonna look. He's gonna turn away while they all write their. They write their decision, and obviously there's, like, what, an hour left. There's a. I think there's gonna be a not guilty in here. You know what you never see anymore? Is cursive handwriting. Guilty, guilty, and guilty, and not guilty. I remember not like in like elementary school, I was supposed to. You got to write in cursive. That's the future of handwriting. But yeah, and I love that the angry guys in the room are like, "Who was it? Tell me. Tell us now." Again, thinking that, oh, we can bully these people. We're the strong voices in the room. We can bully these people into all these weak people into giving up who said not guilty. Again, he's having his biases on who's the one that said not guilty, and then you have the close up to the old man is the one that changed his vote. And what has happened? Lumet has that jury member, the old man, looking directly into the camera. He's breaking the fourth wall. He's talking to the audience. I'm the one that did it. It's way more of a direct reaction to the audience and to to the men in that room, it's that extreme close up of the old man saying, "It was actually me that did it." And I think what Lumet does so well is how he starts these scenes. When we first came into this room, the camera was always kind of like above them, kind of distant. I'm sure he was using wider lenses and to get more people within the frame. But as we progress through the film, we're about, how far are we in now? About 35 minutes in. We aren't as far back from the table anymore. The lenses are tighter, and then obviously we get to the end of the film, the camera is essentially below eye level with them. We're like in the room with them. So many close-ups. The lenses are so much tighter because we've gone from not knowing anything to we know who these people are so individually so well, and we know this case so well. You almost feel like you're on the hot seat as an audience member in the room. You feel like claustrophobic. You can feel that heat just by seeing these guys in this room. I mean, which is kind of wild is that this film didn't make a profit. It was nominated for, I think, 4 Academy Awards. Um, yeah, it was, or 3 Academy Awards, excuse me. It was nominated for picture, director, and adapted screenplay. So, first time director gets a nomination. But yeah, it failed to make its money back, and I think Fonda had deferred his salary in order for this to get made. Obviously his salary was used for production, and he never got his salary back. But I think he said he didn't care. This is for him one of the 3 greatest films he's ever made. Was this? I think the other one was the Oxbow incident and the Grapes of Wrath. But I think you could just tell how important this film was to Fonda and how much belief he had in it. And we look at it now. Over time, this is to me one of the greatest American films ever made, and one of the most important films ever made about America. It's kind of wild too that like in bathrooms, then the towels were just kind of like a towel that would rotate around, and I guess it would clean itself within in that little box. But I feel like it'd still be a little dirty. But again, him having that conversation, it is kind of like a human connection there. Like they are just having a conversation, but then Fonda kind of at the end says, brings up the game again, being like, "Man, you really only care about that game, huh? Like it's just a game. There'll be another one tomorrow." And I love after that they have kind of a break there, and they're going into the bathroom to kind of wash the heat and the sweat off their face of what they just did, and trying to refresh. Then we're gonna go back in and do it again. Yeah. But I think what Fonda's character does so well is he asks the questions that these jury members don't, or maybe they haven't thought of before. Like, imagine if you're on trial, what would you be feeling right now? Like, your fate's being decided by us. Wouldn't you want us to at least discuss it? But he comes out, they're still playing games and still kind of nonchalant about some of them. Are still kind of, they're still lacking empathy and patience. They're lacking patience, I guess, is more of it. And they're getting impatient. They want this to be done. Look at that blocking. Every single person is there. All 12. What about? I feel like I'm watching like a young Mr. Lincoln right now. Fonda playing Lincoln standing up, never listen. Camera just passing over him as Fonda gives his speech. Oof. How long would it take an L? And they're playing tic tac toe. Like, no one cares. This isn't a fucking game. The nerve of me taking this seriously while you guys are playing fucking tic tac toe. It's not a game to gamble with someone's fucking life. Sorry about my cursing. I love the knife is still on the table. And I was watching it with Tony. He brought up a great point, is that if someone watched this film, if they were either blind or deaf, like, you could still tell that these men come from different backgrounds, classes, education, and just location of where they come from. One lives in Brooklyn, one lives in downtown Manhattan, one lives in Long Island, one lives in the Bronx. Like, it's all in the body language, and you can probably watch this film again without seeing it and listening and looking at it without hearing and knowing exactly what is fucking happening in this scene. And I thought that was so good what he mentioned. And the scene after, like, him in the bathroom kind of washing his face off and cleaning himself, and now we see kind of a different Fonda. Now he's way more engaged in the facts, way more engaged in controlling the conversation, because he's now thinking about everything more now, and he's really not judging, he's really examining all of the facts and kind of piecing them together and realizing that none of this really makes sense. Like, how could that happen? He should have been the damn lawyer for the kid, honestly. And I think also, when he's the ones that are that can't believe or don't want to believe that there could be questions within the case. What do people like that do? Or they raise their voice, they talk over it, they get combative with the people that are just trying to explain conversation, explain what's happening in the scene. And what do? You become combative, and it's almost like you're denying that you could be wrong, because you in your life feel like you've never been wrong. I'm always right. I'm this strong man. I'm never wrong. I have all the facts always. And if it's proven that I could see that maybe he is not guilty, that he is questioning, it makes me look weak as a man, and therefore I have to stay strong as a man. I have to yell. I have to show that I'm strong. You're embarrassed to be proven wrong, and you don't want to be embarrassed, and that's kind of what it is. You're embarrassed. You're embarrassed that you're not, like, you don't have all the facts. You don't have all the answers. They actually did shoot this in New York on a stage, but obviously they can get that opening and used an actual courthouse. Um, and what I like about this jury member of them explaining his doubts in the case is he's very calm with it, and he's kind of like an older generation of, maybe we should just listen to, just listen, sit and listen, instead of being loud and combative and argumentative, interrupting people. You're sit and listen and take in all the information. And I have taken in the information of Henry Fonda, and now I am starting to rethink of what I know about the case. Oh, there's the blocking there for each character and how they were all leaning perfectly into the. Oh, it's just so fucking good. Just so fucking good. For those that have listened to this podcast now for a few years, just know how obsessed I am with blocking and lighting, and it's just nothing better. Just nothing better. And you're like, this obviously, it's like you're watching a stage play, but in order for it not to be a stage play for a film, is you move the camera in and out of the scenes, in and up across the table with the characters. If you just leave it on the outside and just kind of record it from there, it gives you as an audience member not. It makes you not feel like you're watching what you're watching. It makes you feel you're just observing, like I said earlier. But having the camera in on the table, moving within the frame on these characters, close up, a lot of setups. We are the jury. And we are also judging these men for how they react. And now we have 3 not guilty. and now and now Jack Warden, his character he's starting to actually become more serious now. He was nonchalant in the beginning, and he's starting to get a little more serious, as in he has been listening, and he just doesn't care. And I think he's still getting to a point that he doesn't care, but he just he's just more worried about his own life. Again, look at the time. Again, the Yankees. And the budget for this film was, I think it was 340,000, or just a little under that, which I think it's like a 3 million now today or something. Um, but it was so low budget that a lot of the lighting setups, they only would be able to set them up that way because they didn't have the time to move them around. They only had a certain amount of days, and I think so a lot of the close-ups were shot on specific days when they had that lighting set up. So that's when you can see a lot of the lighting when it hits their faces is the same, like on the close-ups, because they had to shoot at that angle, and you got to use your budget. And so sometimes it looks like Fonda is is talking to someone from the side, but he's probably actually when they're shooting it across the table on the other side for that lighting. And I love this jury member. He has barely said anything so far. The guy with the glasses and the full suit, and he's just been literally sitting there. He hasn't said like one word. I mean, the entire film, besides like what 4 minutes, 3 minutes, takes place in this room. The entire movie is shot in this room. And I think with like the low budget, the time constraint, um, just Fonda having to defer his salary, the pressure of producing film, producing a film. I think this is after this. I don't think Fonda ever produced a film again. I think he was just it was too much work for him, and he didn't realize like how much control he needed to have. And him and Lumet obviously kind of clashed in the beginning on how what he wanted it to look and feel. And once he did see it, and I think Fonda didn't even like watching himself. I don't think he ever saw any of his films. He hated watching himself on screen. But when he did see those scenes and how it looked, he obviously never came back into the room because he was like, okay, yeah, it looks fucking incredible. Um, but yeah, I think with this film not making a lot of money and quote unquote bombing at that time, even though it was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, it probably put too much stress on him to continue to be a producer, and he didn't produce again after this. So and he says, "Keep the yelling down." He's like, "Maybe we do need a little yelling in here. We're men. We gotta yell. We gotta. This is how I make my point. I yell. I yell. I yell." But you can feel the tension. It's growing. It's growing in this room. Yeah, I never saw so much time spent on nothing. It only takes a second. In 1 second, we could decide this man's fate. Take it a little more fucking seriously. And I love that push in. You know that this guy's about to change to not guilty. As we just go right across the table. It's simple, yet so effective. And I think the stage play that was written, Reginald Rose, who then wrote the screenplay, I don't think it was. I don't think anything was changed. I think it was word for word the exact same thing. So they basically just used the stage play screenplay, and they're like, "Here you go. This is a screenplay now." And I love that he picked up Henry Fonda's knife that he bought and said, "That's not the knife. Don't you remember?" And he was like, "Oh, brilliant!" As in, you picked up the wrong knife. It's possible you thought that that knife was the knife that murdered the kid's father, but it wasn't. It was that knife over there, but it looks exactly the same. There is reasonable doubt. But yeah, it's little things like that where you have this guy complaining about the Yankees, and he says, "Oh, the Baltimore guy, the guy ran to his door," and that's when you have like a light bulb in your head that he ran. It's little things like that. How can the old man run if he can barely walk? Huh? Yeah. And I think you can tell with one jury member who him, Lee J. Cobb. Sorry, I was trying to think of his name. He's still talking about it's still about his son. This whole thing is about his son, and then he just took out his anger on the old man. He's like, he's an old man. How can he remember anything? And then he realized that he kind of just took a shot at the old man over there, and he realized, like, okay, that was a little too far. Like, he realizes a lot of the time that he's saying stuff without meaning it, but just because he's saying it because he wants to believe it. I mean, Lee J. Cobb, obviously, in On the Waterfront, classic film. Soon to maybe be on this podcast in the future. We shall see. We shall see. Nothing like a good diagram. It's a very narrow apartment. Really long hallway for an apartment. See, this is what his lawyer should have been doing. Let's map this out. And now what does Lumet do is he goes back to a wider lens. He pulls the camera back. So now that we can see, we can move along with Fonda as he figured this out. And we can have everyone in the scene again. All of us are now completely in this. But yeah, no, they asked, so why didn't they do this when he was on the stand? Well, maybe they were going to bully and badger the witness. Why badger the old man? Because he's an old man. We can bully and badger like you guys bully and badger half the people here. Oh, the sweat on everybody now. They're profusely sweating. This is what I love. Give me the whole reenactment. And I only feel like Fonda is someone that can control a whole scene like this. But I love that we leave the camera on the foot though. We don't see Fonda because, and you can actually even see in that shot, you can see the camera. But I love it's like you're closing up on the foot. Like, why didn't anyone think of this during the case? It's so simple. The way that guy walks. How could he do it in 45 seconds? Yeah. And I think with what Fonda does along this whole film is he realizes the more he speaks out about the case, the more how everything doesn't make any sense. And Fonda is the audience member. He's us. So. And you have the one guy, he's always like, this guy's guilty. What is he? He's by himself. They're all looking at him. You're letting him slip through our fingers. He was executioner. I'm one of them. Yeah. He wants to pull the switch on this kid. The close up on both of them. Again, he just wants to see his boy die because he's so angry at his own son. damn. I'll kill him, I'll kill him. You don't really mean you'll kill me, will you? Again, because he wouldn't actually kill him. Everything that they're biased against and judging people for, they say in their everyday lives, I'll kill you. You don't mean you would actually really kill me, though, right? And then, oh, yeah. Got me there. Oof. The shot of them all perfectly lined up, looking at him. What are you looking at? And then what do you do? There's just a slight lighting change there. It goes down as we now enter a new part of the night. And what I like about this jury member is he's an immigrant. And he realizes that, yeah, he came here to a country that is democracy, that yeah, and decide the fate of a fellow citizen. Never heard of, but that's what democracy is. You don't gain or lose anything. But this is the system that is set in place for specific reasons. And him and his immigrant is why he came to this country for this reason. He came to a democracy that has the ability to do this, and I think that's what's lost in American society is immigrants are the backbone and what make America great, and their entire belief on what America is a country that gives you as a citizen a right and a voice in a courtroom, on a jury. I don't know how well I worded that, but hopefully it sounded okay. No. And we're gonna do another open ballot and vote. I love this. All the close-ups of the guilty or not guilty votes. Because now it's more personal. Now we're not writing on a piece of paper. Now we're just raising our hand with all of us in the frame. Now we are very locked in on the votes for each individual person. We know who each individual person is. I think it's a lot of these shots that I was talking about earlier where they only had the lighting like this for this setup, so they kind of all shot these at once over a span of a couple days. And now we have 6-6. And at this time, obviously, Fonda was kind of Fonda and Lee J. Cobb, and we're kind of like the only like people that were known. But obviously, as this film became more and more important over the decades, and how important it is to film history, and it's one of the greatest American films ever made. A lot of these actors, people would go back and watch their other work from other roles they were in and realize that, because then you had like Marty Balsam, Jack Warden were in All the President's Men, and people probably saw All the President's Men and didn't realize that these are the two guys from 12 Angry Men. 2 titles with men in the title. They only started films with men in the title. the detail and all the sweat that's on them, and it's just they're all dying in the heat. They're tired. And then you have this silence as the camera pulls away. And then the lighting dimly lit. And then when we have the thunder comes as we enter the final act. And I love this right here. I love this scene right here. Even though they're both guilty, not guilty right now, he came and helped him close the window and you can tell that Marty Bolsom's character is like a really nice guy, and he's just and it's a very personal story. It tells you everything you need to know about him. He's just this guy's just a really nice guy. Again, talking about a kid. He's talking about a kid that he really liked, and he wish I had another kid like him. Again, using personal stories from their past, and a lot of it's related to kids for them. And he said like it started to rain like this back then during that game, and that was murder to me. Like that was a murder. That's how it felt to me. This little thing like that felt like murder. It's such a simple yet really effective story. And I love that they added that the fan works now when they turn the light on. It's little things like that. It's they all think they're so smart in this room, a lot of them, and the fan doesn't work, so it's broken. All you had to do was turn the light on. It's attached to the electric box. And again, this guy just doesn't care. Still doesn't care. Still talking about sports. Still trying to be funny. I think it is important to show this film in especially high school, even middle school. Like it should be shown in schools to show that this is how the judicial system should work. Again, very simple and effective to have a thunderstorm tonight because we're all clashing in this room. It's thunder and lightning in this room. And you add that sound effect of the rain, the thunder, adds even more tension to the scene. You have that loud rain hitting the screen. Hitting the windows, sorry, not the screen. Yep, and here you go. Here's his prejudice against immigrants, and he comes over here, and what do I do? He tells me who's actually from here how to live my life, and no, he's allowed to have this opinion. That's the beauty of this country. Immigrants are people of this country, and immigrants are what make this country great. And now this is where what I love here is now the camera is below the eye line here. You can see that I brought up earlier. Now it's below. You have Fonda essentially interrogating this man, the light hitting him directly in the face. Now he's going to break this man down of just a little thing, because this jury member was so hung up on the kid not knowing what films he saw and the people who starred in them. Yeah, and he's like, how could someone remember that if he came home and saw his dad on the floor? I wouldn't remember what freaking movie. My brain would be everywhere. I don't remember what 2 movies I saw that night. I don't know. So what is Fonda going to do here? He's going to now question him on the exact same question that this jury member is so locked up on. And what does Lumet do also? He keeps them both in the frame at the same time. And he kind of cuts out a lot of the other jury members. It's very direct. Like, you don't see their faces. This is a very direct line of questioning. And you have Fonda's, when he's looking at him, you can see the reverse. You can see the hand or the arm and knee. Like, it's more of a powerful position in the frame. He's kind of taking over the frame. And now you have the close-up on him trying to remember the films he saw. And he wasn't under emotional distress. He was just going on Monday night. And what do? You keep cutting closer when he's getting his answers not wrong, but he can't remember, and you keep going closer. And find out who else. And then now you notice earlier in the film he said he never sweats, and what's coming down from his face now, or his forehead? Sweat. When he realizes that he is wrong, that he could be wrong. And it's very interesting to have Lumet have that reign be so strong. Like, these guys kind of have to, you have to, it makes the audience really hone in on what is being discussed now. Every single line of dialogue, you are going to be leaned in, listening, because you need to hear it. This is important. And it's very simple. As after that line of questioning to that jury member, is we pull the camera back out, and now we're going to discuss something else. We pull back out, see everybody that conversation's ended, and now we're going to have a whole new conversation. And that's how you move the camera within the scene. And what I love about this too is now you have other jury members questioning things that Fonda has also never even thought of. He never thought about that. And his reaction when he was listening, you can tell that he was more of a, I never thought about that. That's really interesting. And here you go, kind of cutting back to you wouldn't kill me, would you? And I love the whole, it takes him like 5 seconds to like actually kind of do the movement. Because in that moment, like, he would never actually do that. And I think it's very subtle 5 seconds to actually stab somebody is a huge thing to do. And everyone's like, and he's hesitating because he realizes like how it is a scary thing to do. And what does he do? He goes, sits back down, and he kind of looks down, and And now we have the one jury member that was from the slums bring in his personal experience, and he tells you like how you use a switchblade. You know, again, it's important to have all of these people in the room that have different backgrounds because they can give you information on how, again, how would you use a switch knife? I grew up in this area. That's why it opens like that, and it's a quick movement. It's a yeah. It's if he's young, if he's smaller than him, he would stab up, but he wouldn't stab down. And now you're having other jury members start to question again. And he's only changing his vote now, Jack Warden, to not guilty because he just had enough again. But then you have someone that is saying he's guilty actually is arguing with him now, saying that's not an answer, even though I'm guilty. And you have a not guilty over there, the not guilty guy also saying that's not an. He's right. Like he's agreeing with someone who's on the opposite of him. He's like that's not an answer. Like, what kind of man are you? Like, you only care about baseball. You're tired of the talking in here. And I think it's important that you have an immigrant character talking to someone who's from New York that says like I'm American. Like this immigrant comes here and tries to tell me what to do. Then you have this immigrant now breaking down Jack Warden's character of like this is how you should be as a man. You call yourself such an American, but I'm a better person than you are because I show empathy to other people. You don't. You don't care. You don't give a shit. You're not a man. But I think him confronting him too there is does kind of change Jack Warden's character because it's like he is breaking down, like because he's breaking down him in a sense that it's a real personal thing where it's like you need to take this fucking seriously. And I think he does kind of like get embarrassed that hasn't been taking seriously this whole time. And I love that close up on Marty Bolsom. It says when he's just 9. Like just so he's so fucking good in this, man. So fucking good. This is my favorite fucking scene. One of my favorite scenes in film history. You have this actor here who's been, or this character here, so racist and judgmental, everything. We had the camera start in the middle of the scene, in the middle of the table, and it pans out and leaves the table as the audience doesn't even want to sit with this guy. What happens? And then you have one of the jury members get up and leave. We keep pulling back, and watch what's going to happen is every single one of these jury members is going to slowly get up and not listen to this racist rant anymore. They don't want to be associated with this jury member. They don't want to sit at the same table as this jury member. And we keep pulling back. And you just realize how absolutely insane this guy is and how terrible of a person he is. They're all getting up and leaving. They don't want to be associated. And you have an incredible blocking of them all going. They're all going to be in the frame right now. It's insane how good this shot is. And how it's fucking masterful. None of them are looking at him. They all get up and leave like you're a fucking disgrace. You're disgusting. All turn their back to him. Even the other ones that consider him guilty are disgusted by the way this man is. They don't even want to look how disgusted he is. Yeah, I love that. I have. Sit down and don't open your mouth again. So then we have him leave the scene, and the camera hasn't moved. We have been further back. We watched all that happen, and now watch what happens. So once he leaves the table to go sit by himself in his little corner, jury comes back. One comes to sit back down now. Two come to sit back down. And as we all slowly bring them back in, what does the camera do? We move back in now. We push back in on everybody. We now become part of the scene again. And then you have Fonda say, we bring that personal prejudice into it and always skewers the truth. And it's important for him to say this as we push in and have the other jury members come back to the table. And for me, that anyone that ever wants to be a director, an actor, a writer, just watch that scene of how everything that moves, it's all been one take. It's still going, and it's that is when I see scenes like that is the reason why I love talking about film, work in film. And it's so important to me because it's that effective on what you can do just by moving a camera and blocking to entirely show what that room is feeling without even saying a word of, well, I mean, words are said, but saying a word is in kind of beating you over the head with it. And then it's so effective. So effective. And thank you for listening to my my rant on that scene, because I could talk about that scene all fucking day. All fucking day. And I love this shot here. You have the three people that are still saying he's guilty in the same frame. And this is kind of your last piece of evidence here. Where if you have an eyewitness say that they saw what happened, and it's very effective for him coming up, obviously, with glasses. Ask the other guy with glasses, and he puts his glasses on to see the jury member of what's about to happen. It's very effective, very subtle to ask the guy who has glasses about what's about to happen now. What they're about to discuss. They're about to discuss glasses. And he wants it done. The boy in the gray flannel suit. Man, that rain is so loud. I love it. I love it. And there we go. Takes his glasses off and rubs his eyes. And then you have the one jury member. And there we go. Now we talk about the glasses. That's why I never really noticed it until like more recently when I've been watching it, is when he asked the other jury member and the guy puts his glasses on, of how we're about to now just talk about glasses for the next 5 minutes. Like, it's so effective. It's just so effective. And the cinematographer of this also shot on the waterfront patterns. Obviously, 12 Angry Men in this. He shot Fugitive Kind, Splendor in the Grass. Probably really underrated Boris Kaufman, very underrated cinematographer. I mean, he won an Oscar. I believe he won 4 on the waterfront. Yeah, he did win for on the waterfront, and he was nominated for also Baby Doll. But I mean, I think this is one of the best shot films ever. It's each shot is so specific and so well constructed, and just looks so good. And now we have a very close personal reaction of a facial interaction. Had the same marks between her eyes, and it's very simple. She had glasses on. And I love when he's talking more about the glass and he puts them back on. And I think when the moment when he put them back on, he knew that it's wrong. There's no way. He knows. Like that's the moment when you got yeah, other and you don't it's all close up on these shots. There's no multiple, especially on him when he says no there couldn't. He's not looking directly at the audience, but he basically is. As simple things like that, it's all detail from Glass. I just think this film is so impactful and the pacing is incredible. I mean, we're at the end of the film here almost. There's only 8 minutes left, and I feel like I could just continue to talk about this all day and just how I feel like I could do this again right after and how just in how incredible this film is. There is no ounce wasted. It is perfectly put together, perfectly shot, perfectly acted, perfectly directed. It is a perfect film. And and I know when people say that they watch films that people recommend and say it's like one of the greatest films ever made, and then they watch it and they're like, it was all right. But I feel like when people watch this, they're like, yeah, holy shit. That was one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my entire life. And then look at the lens change. We're so close. So close on everybody. And now we go around. Now we go. He's not guilty anymore. No. And then we have everyone change. And then we have the one last jury member. Lee J. Cobb is all alone now by himself. And now he's gonna have to confront his own personal demons with his own son. He's all by himself. You're alone. It is his right to be alone. But do you want to be alone? You know we're correct, and you're just too afraid to say it. And I love that. We want to hear your arguments. We're not talking about those arguments. I know this. Fonda knows that this is about something else, and that's why you have those close-ups on them and making that eye contact. He knows this is about something else. Lee J. Cobb is also incredible in this, especially right here. This right here should have been Academy Award. And then you shoot him completely alone. Because he's now all alone by himself. So the audience, we see him all alone. No one's on his side. This is how you fucking act. It's so powerful and commanding over the screen, even though he's wrong. And just the confidence in him being wrong. And then we see the close up on the whole case is about him and his son. And we see the son. And they all know it's about something else. Oof, there's lighting on all of them. Incredible. And they're not saying a word. They are letting him just go. Title to my opinion, then he sees his son. And when he starts talking about his kids, his eyes don't leave that photo. Now he tears it up and he realizes, like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Like that was my anger and frustration I just took out. And when he says not guilty here, he knows he's not. He needed to have that release of tearing up that photo of him and his son because he knows that relationship is broken. And then we have the music come back in. And then we pull the camera fully out to their. Now we're in the closet. Now we're done. We're ready now. There's no more observation. We're not in the room. It's time for us to get up and leave. We made our decision, and it's very effective that the one character that cared the most is now going to be the last one to leave with the one that he was combative with the most throughout the entire film. He's going to go get his jacket, and that shows the compassion that Fonda's character has that other people lack. Even though they were opposing the whole time, they were screaming at each other the whole time. He's going to help him because he knows that was way more than just about the kid on the stand. And he's going to help him. We can leave together. And he's not going to leave until he's ready to go. And now we exit the room. I love that turn around and we pan back down across the table. Across the notes, the photo ripped up, the chairs. The fate was decided right at that table. America can be decided at that table. We're all Americans. What do we have now is we fade out to the courthouse and every single jury member goes their separate ways to never probably see each other ever again. And I love that. What's your name, Davis? Because there was no names in that room. You never knew their names. And now we all leave, and the rain stopped because we made our decision. We're all going to go our separate ways and live our lives. And the kid on the stand, not guilty, he can go on living his life. We made our decision. And that has been the masterpiece. That is 12 Angry Men. This podcast is hosted and edited by Pat Brennan. That's me, with intro and closing music by Patrick Baxter.